This is Fluent English Journey Podcast.
From Speak English with Nora. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Fluent English Journey Podcast. I'm Nora.
And I'm Ethan. Good to have you with us again.
So Ethan, how are you doing today? The weather's been pretty nice lately, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, I'm doing great. This morning was beautiful. I actually walked to work instead of taking the bus. How about you?
I'm good. I had my coffee, so I'm ready to go. You know what's funny? I was just thinking about my first day at my first real job. I had no idea how to talk to my boss.
Oh man, I totally remember that feeling. It's so awkward, right? You don't know if you should be super formal or, just be yourself.
Exactly. And that's actually what we're talking about today. We're going to explore workplace hierarchy and how to communicate appropriately with different people at work.
This is such an important topic, especially for English learners who might be working in English-speaking countries. The way you talk to your boss is very different from how you talk to your coworkers.
Right. And it's not just about being polite. It's about understanding the structure of a workplace and knowing who's who. So today, we'll cover things like reading an org chart, body language, email etiquette, and even cultural differences.
Good stuff. And hey, listeners, just a heads up. We have a full transcript and practice exercises in the description below. So if you miss anything, don't worry, you can read along later.
Perfect. Okay, so let's jump right in. Ethan, when you started your first job, did you understand the company structure?
Honestly, not really. I mean, I knew my boss was my boss, but I didn't really understand who else was important or how everything connected.
Yeah, that's so common. So let's break it down. In most companies, there's something called an organizational chart, or org chart for short. It's basically a visual map of who reports to whom.
Right, it shows the hierarchy, like who's at the top and who's at different levels below.
Exactly. At the top, you usually have the CEO. That's the Chief Executive Officer, the big boss of the whole company. Then below that, you might have vice presidents, directors, managers, supervisors, and then regular employees.
And understanding this is super important because, well, it affects how you communicate with everyone. You wouldn't email the CEO the same way you'd email your coworker, you know?
Totally. So let's talk about some key terms here. Your direct supervisor or manager is the person you report to directly. They're the one who gives you assignments and evaluates your work.
And your colleagues or coworkers are people at the same level as you. These are usually the people you work with every day, the ones you can be more casual with.
Right. And if you're a manager, you might have direct reports. Those are the people who report to you. They're basically the opposite of your supervisor.
Okay, so here's a quick question for our listeners. Think about your workplace. Who is your direct supervisor? Do you know who their boss is? Understanding this chain of command is really helpful.
Great question. And speaking of how we interact with these different people, let's talk about formal versus casual language. This is where things get interesting.
Oh yeah, this one trips people up all the time. I remember I once called my boss dude by accident. I was so embarrassed.
Oh no! What happened?
Well, he just laughed it off, but I realized I needed to be more careful. With your boss or senior managers, you want to use more formal, polite language.
Exactly. So instead of saying, hey, can you check this to your manager, you'd say something like, excuse me, would you mind reviewing this when you have a moment?
See the difference? The second one is more respectful and professional. You're using phrases like would you mind and when you have a moment instead of just making a direct request.
Right. And with your coworkers, people at your same level, you can be much more relaxed. You might say, hey, can you help me out with this? Or, got a minute?
Yeah, it's no big deal to be casual with your peers. In fact, being too formal with coworkers can actually make things awkward.
No big deal. That's a great everyday phrase. It means something is not important or not a problem. Like, don't worry about being 5 minutes late. It's no big deal.
Nice. Okay, so another important thing is how you address people. Do you use their first name, their title? This varies a lot.
In many American and Canadian companies, it's pretty common to use first names, even with your boss. So you might say, hi Sarah, to your manager.
But in some companies, especially more traditional ones or in certain countries, you might need to say Mr. Smith or Ms. Johnson or Dr. Chen. You really need to pay attention to what others are doing.
Exactly. Here's a good tip. When you first start a job, listen to how other people address your supervisor. Follow their lead. That's always a safe bet.
Follow their lead. Another useful phrase. It means to copy what someone else is doing, to take guidance from them.
Love it! Okay, now let's talk about something really important. Body language and respect. This is something people don't always think about, but it matters a lot.
Oh yeah. The way you carry yourself says a lot, even before you open your mouth.
Exactly. So when you're talking to your supervisor or a senior manager, you want to make good eye contact, but not too intense. You want to stand or sit up straight, showing that you're paying attention.
Right. Slouching or looking at your phone would be really disrespectful in that situation. But with your coworkers, you can be more relaxed. Lean back a bit. Be comfortable.
And here's an interesting one. Nodding. When your boss is talking, nodding shows that you're listening and understanding. It's a simple thing, but it makes a difference.
Totally. And if you disagree with something, you don't want to shake your head or roll your eyes while they're talking. Even if you have a different opinion, you wait until they're done, and then you politely share your thoughts.
Good point. Okay, so let's move to meetings. Because meeting etiquette based on your role is huge. I used to get so nervous in meetings when I first started working.
Me too. I never knew when to speak up. Should I just jump in? Should I wait? It was confusing.
Right. So here's the deal. In most meetings, the person leading the meeting, usually a manager or director, will speak first. They'll set the agenda and explain what the meeting is about.
And as a regular employee, you generally want to wait until you're asked for input, or until there's a clear opening in the conversation. Don't interrupt your boss or senior people.
Exactly. But when you do speak up, there are polite ways to do it. You might say, if I may add something, or I'd like to share an idea if that's okay.
Those are great phrases. If I may is a really polite way to ask permission to speak. It shows respect.
Right. And if you disagree with someone, especially someone senior to you, you don't just say, that's wrong. Instead, you might say, I see your point, but I wonder if we could also consider, or, that's interesting, another perspective might be.
Yes. You're showing that you heard them, but you're offering a different viewpoint. It's diplomatic.
Diplomatic? That means being tactful and not offending people. Very important at work.
For sure. Okay, and here's something important about meetings. Knowing when to stay quiet. If the conversation is about something that doesn't involve you or your department, sometimes it's best to just listen and learn.
Absolutely. You don't need to speak in every meeting. In fact, speaking less but saying meaningful things is often better than talking all the time.
Quality over quantity. Now, I want to shift gears a little and talk about giving and receiving feedback. This is another area where your position really matters.
Oh, this is tricky. So let's say you want to give feedback to a coworker, someone at your level. You can be pretty direct, but still friendly. You might say, hey, I noticed this small issue in the report. Maybe we could fix it together.
Right. You're being helpful, not bossy. But if you want to suggest something to your manager, you need to be much more careful with your words.
Exactly. You might say something like, I've been thinking about this process, and I had an idea that might help. Would you be open to hearing it? See how you're asking permission first?
Yeah, you're not telling your boss what to do. You're offering a suggestion, respectfully. Big difference.
And when you're receiving feedback from your manager, even if you disagree, you need to accept it gracefully. You might say, thank you for the feedback. I'll work on that. Or, I appreciate you pointing that out.
Right. Don't get defensive or make excuses. Just say thank you, take notes, and show that you're willing to improve.
Get defensive. That means to protect yourself or make excuses when criticized. At work, try not to do that. Just listen and learn.
Good advice. All right, so let's talk about something that might seem simple but is actually really important. Email etiquette. This is where a lot of mistakes happen.
Oh my gosh, yes. Emails are so important in the workplace. The way you start and end an email really depends on who you're writing to.
So with your boss, you might start with Dear Mr. Lee or Hi Sarah, depending on the company culture. And you'd end with something formal like best regards or sincerely, and then your full name.
Right. But with a coworker, you can be more casual. You might just say, hey Tom, or hi, and end with thanks, or cheers, or just your first name.
Exactly. Now, here's something that confuses people. CC, BCC, and reply all. Let's break this down.
Okay. So CC means carbon copy. When you CC someone on an email, you're including them so they can see the conversation, but they're not the main recipient. You might CC your manager to keep them in the loop.
In the loop. Great phrase. It means to keep someone informed about what's happening. Like, let me know if there are any updates. I want to stay in the loop.
Perfect. And BCC is blind carbon copy. When you BCC someone, the other recipients can't see that person was included. This is less common and, honestly, it can feel a bit sneaky, so use it carefully.
Yeah, good point. And then there's the dreaded reply all button. Here's the rule. Only use reply all if everyone on the email actually needs to see your response.
Yes! If someone emails a whole team asking a question and you reply just to say thanks, you don't need to reply all. Just reply to the sender. Otherwise, you're cluttering everyone's inbox.
Exactly. But if your answer is important for the whole team, then reply all is appropriate. It's all about being considerate of people's time.
Great explanation. Now, let's talk about something fun. Small talk. This is when you have casual conversations with people at work, maybe in the break room or before a meeting starts.
Oh, small talk is an art. And here's the thing. What you talk about with your boss might be different from what you chat about with your work friends.
Exactly. Safe topics with everyone include weather, weekend plans, food, or maybe a popular TV show. You might say, how was your weekend? Or, did you see the game last night?
Right! But there are some topics you want to avoid, especially with your supervisor. Things like politics, religion, salary, or personal problems. Those are usually off limits in professional settings.
Off limits. That means not allowed or not appropriate. Like, personal questions about age or relationships are off limits at work.
Good one. Now, with your close coworkers, you might feel comfortable talking about more personal stuff. But even then, be careful. You never know who might overhear, or who might feel uncomfortable.
Exactly. A good rule of thumb is if you wouldn't want your boss to hear the conversation, maybe don't have it at work.
A good rule of thumb. That's a super common phrase meaning a general guideline. Like, a good rule of thumb is to arrive 5 minutes early to meetings.
Love it. Okay, so before we wrap up, I want to touch on something really important: cultural differences. Workplace hierarchy looks different around the world.
This is so true. In some countries, like the United States or Australia, workplaces tend to be more casual. You might call your boss by their first name, and the hierarchy feels flatter.
Right. But in countries like Japan, Korea, or many parts of Europe and Latin America, there's often more formality. You might use titles more often, and there's a clearer separation between different levels.
And neither way is wrong. It's just different. The key is to observe and adapt. When you're in a new workplace, watch how others behave. Do they use first names? How do they dress? How formal are meetings?
Adapt. That means to adjust or change your behavior to fit a new situation. It's super important in multicultural workplaces.
Definitely. And if you're unsure, it's totally okay to ask. You could say to a coworker, "I'm still learning the culture here. Is it okay to call the manager by her first name?"
That shows you're thoughtful and want to do the right thing. People appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right, I think we should share one quick real-life example to tie this all together.
Great idea. So imagine this scenario. You're working on a project and you notice a problem. Your coworker made a mistake in some data. How do you handle it?
Okay, so first, if it's your coworker at the same level, you could just walk over to them privately and say, "Hey, I think I spotted a small error in the numbers. Want to take a look together?" Friendly and helpful.
Right. But if your supervisor made the mistake, this is trickier. You might send a polite email saying, "I was reviewing the data and I wanted to check on something. Could we discuss the figures in column B? I want to make sure I'm understanding them correctly."
Yes. See how you're framing it as your own question rather than pointing out their error? That's being diplomatic.
Exactly. And if someone junior to you makes a mistake, you can be direct but kind. "I noticed this issue. Let me show you how to fix it for next time."
Perfect. You're teaching, not criticizing.
All right, I think we've covered a lot today. Let's do a quick recap. We talked about understanding organizational charts and workplace hierarchy, using formal versus casual language depending on the person, addressing people correctly.
And we covered meeting etiquette, email do's and don'ts, small talk boundaries, and cultural differences. Plus some really useful everyday phrases.
Right. So here's my question for you, our amazing listeners. What's the biggest challenge you face when communicating at work? Is it talking to your boss? Writing emails? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, share your experiences. And remember, if you want to practice these skills, check out the exercises we've included in the description. There's also a full transcript so you can read along and review.
Perfect. You know, the most important thing to remember is everyone was new once. Everyone has felt awkward at work. The fact that you're listening to this and trying to improve your English and your professional communication, that's already awesome.
Totally agree. Just take it one day at a time, observe others, and don't be afraid to ask questions when you're unsure.
Exactly. Be confident, be respectful, and remember, you've got this.
Well said. Thanks so much for joining us today, everyone.
Yeah, we really appreciate you spending this time with us. Keep practicing, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See you next time. Take care.
Bye for now. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out my other videos to keep improving your English. See you next time.